Hello friends, and welcome back to my crafty space. My name is Crystal Idunyate, and today I am super excited to share a full flip through of my October 2021 documenting. My project last year ended up taking up 3 entire Life Crafted albums. The Life Crafted albums here are sized at roughly a traveler's notebook, so 4 1/4 by 8 1/4, but you can actually fit, I believe, 5 by 8 1/4 pages inside of them. The albums themselves are incredibly well made. They have super nice quality and have held up really great over time, over the last year. I also really enjoyed the scale and format of the pages that went into this album. The one thing that I am not super crazy about when it comes to these is the size of the spine. In a traditional 6 by 8 binder, the spine is 2.5 inches wide, so there's quite a bit more space in those albums. In the original Life Crafted size, however, the spine is 1.5 inches. So I ended up having to expand into 3 full albums to get all of my documenting into an album for storage. That is something that is going to cause me to not use a Life Crafted album in the year to come. I don't want to have to invest in 3 albums in order to get all of my stories told. I, at some point in the very near future, will have a video sharing my plans for this year, but just know that it will not be in a Life Crafted album. I did, however, love this size. Just wish that spine was a bit bigger. So let me set aside volume 2 and 3, and we're going to start off with volume number 1. Okay, so jumping into volume number 1, also I should mention the color I used last year is Clementine. So it's a very kind of citrusy orange color. So we're going to open this up, and we've got my first of 3 title pages. For this one, I used some paper that I had in my stash from Vicky Booten, layered on a acrylic piece that says Wicked Awesome from Colorcast Design, added in my October 2021, some bats cascading up the page. And then inside the first cover here, I did create a pocket that stores some tags. And I will say that a year later, I have not done to the tags what I had originally intended to do, which I wanted to add some information on the back about each of our family members and some of our Halloween preferences, as well as what we wanted to be for Halloween that year. I did not end up doing that, and it's okay. I'm okay with that. If I feel like it at some later point in time, I can go back and print off a photo of each of us and put that on the back side of the tag if I want to, but also it's okay. Layered this up with some different die cuts and some chipboard here, and then called that done. This page here serves as my reason why for the album. I used this really cool pattern paper, and this was, I believe, from the Cocoa Daisy Halloween collection from 2021. And then I had also purchased the Heidi Swap collection. The Heidi Swap collection came with 2 tags in these little pockets, and you'll see the very last one, or the second one at the very last spread in my album. This one just says October. You can pull out the tag, and on the back of the tag, I wrote out my hello to October and my reason why I wanted to continue the tradition of creating this album last year. Layered this with some die cuts to create my page here, and then snapped a picture of me and the kids on the front porch last year in our Halloween getup. This was on October 1st, and then used that as my photo to document the story. Then we're going to begin working through story numbers. So the way that I do my October daily and my December daily is I work with a certain number of stories I want to tell. I don't necessarily pay attention to the exact day that something happened. It's more, what do I feel like talking about today? Also, in 2021, I came up with a prompt list that included 31 prompts for the month of October, And I used that as my inspiration or my jumping off point for my story. The first story here is our Halloween bucket list. At this point in time, I did not have my computer set up here in our new house. So I hand wrote in my journaling instead of typing it, which is probably what I would have done had my computer and printer been set up. So I hand wrote in the 5 things that we really wanted to do throughout October, added my bucket list title up at the top with some really cool Tim Holtz tape. What is that called? Label tape underneath. And then paired this with another photo from the same day. So same day photos with my number, some extra embellishments, and called this one done. My next story is just this one on the left side. I stuck down my number 2, which is a Tim Holtz token, and it has not stayed super well on this. I need to add some extra adhesive to it, I think, or maybe figure out, maybe I need to like hot glue it so it will stay on there. For this one, I've got a pile of tags here that I decorated. So on the front of them, they have pattern papers, and then each of them have some trim with a statement or like a tiny phrase sticker, a die cut, or some chipboard on top. So we've got the orange with the gray, the pink with this yellow, and then the black and black. Then on the back side, I told my story. For this one, I wanted to document some of my favorite costumes through the years. So I have a group costume that we did with my brother and sister-in-law where we dressed up as the Scooby-Doo gang. I have a second one where this would have been in Jonah was not probably, I want to say this was 2020, where we dressed up like Mojo Jojo and the Powerpuff Girls. Yes, that would have been 2020. And then I have one from 2015 where we went to an anime convention and dressed up as the Mario gang. So I have a picture of me as Peach and Isabella as baby Toadette. Super cute. And then just talked about the different costumes, why we wore them, and why they are some of my favorites. This goes into a clear transparency pocket, which was at the time a piece of ephemera. So it was part of, I think maybe the backing of some stickers from the dollar store or something like that. And I repurposed it and threw it on here because I loved the little spiders and the pumpkins in the corner. Stitched that down onto some paper that's got black stars on a white background. One of my favorite patterns ever is black stars on a white background. And then that one is done. Story number 3, the prompt was, do you believe in ghosts? So I took a picture of myself using a Snapchat filter that makes you look like a ghost, and then printed that on vellum for this like extra bit of creepiness. So that is my photo here. I have my number down at the bottom, and then when you turn it over, I have my story behind there. So my story about why, yes, I do believe in ghosts is written here. And it's just a really fun creative writing prompt, which I'm hoping to add more of those once again into my 2022 album. The next story was to write a letter, or the prompt was to write a letter to my favorite Halloween character. So for my story, I chose the Sanderson sisters. I found this cut file somewhere online. It might have been in the Silhouette store. It might have been on Etsy. I can't remember, but all of these do have a process video with the links to all of the products included in their descriptions. And I also have everything detailed on my blog, which is linked below. So you can go check out all of the blog posts for these albums, and there you will also find a supplies list. So I've got the Sanderson sisters hairstyles, my letter to the Sanderson sisters and why I love them so, and then I grounded this with some different washi tapes and added this hocus pocus to the top. In between, I created this cauldron that I wanted to hold kind of a recipe for a potion, so to say. I In my story, I talked a lot about the relationships between the three sisters and then my relationship with my younger sister. So I used this sisters, which is, something they say in Hocus Pocus, to designate that this story is about really my relationship with my sister. You can pull out the top bubbles here out of the cauldron, and here is my sisterhood spell with a little bit more journaling about my relationship with my younger sister. And then that just slips back in and adds to the potion bubbles at the top of my cauldron. So that is story number 4. Number 5 was to document my favorite candy for Halloween. So for this one, I took a picture of myself holding the candy and then journaled about it on the photo itself, since I had a lot of dark space at the bottom where white text would show up super great. Then I created some really fun shaker pockets. Love having those included at least in a layout or two in my October dailies. And then I snagged some of the wrappers from my candy and cut them down into 2x2s to add into the pockets. So I've got like Sour Patch Kids zombies and sour body parts and white pumpkins. These are the best, white pumpkins, and the ghosty Twix. Always a proponent for using your garbage in your layouts, because why not, right? For story number 6, the prompt was, do you prefer, or, in what camp are you? A little scary, or what was it? Super scary or a little spooky? So I talked about how I am generally a little spooky is where I end up. I do not like scary movies. I do not like, really like haunted houses. I don't like going to them. I like them from afar, but I don't like going to them. Except when it comes to Halloween time, I really love the super creepy Halloween decorations. My parents had gotten this 10-foot pumpkin skeleton, and he is just super cool. My kids are not afraid of things like this because they've grown up with it. And that was a large part of the story that I told for this particular prompt. For my next story, I wanted to tell a past story. So a story of a Halloween memory. For this one, I picked a Halloween party that I had. I was probably in like 3rd or 4th grade, maybe even less, maybe like 2nd grade, and had all of my friends come over for a Halloween party that my mom threw. So I did some journaling about that and then created this cute little gallery wall with a free PDF that I found, or free PNG that I found, and then took pictures of pictures, printed them small, and added those into the back. Next, I wanted to tell the story. The prompt was your very last trick-or-treating. So when was the last time you went trick-or-treating, and tell that story. I told about how I was a trick-or-treater until I was a senior in high school. So I had no shame and was not afraid to go trick-or-treating until I was 18 years old. Actually, I think I would have been 17 at the time, but almost 18. I have some pictures of my final Halloween costume for trick-or-treating. Did some journaling over here. The little haunted houses, or the haunted street down here, is a cut file that I added. I love the silhouette down there. And then the cluster up here are some products that I had gotten from the dollar store years ago. And the trick-or-treat comes once again from Colorcast Design. My final story for volume 1 is about the spooky movies that we were watching throughout the month of October. For this, I have a pile of tags that I threw into another clear transparency pocket. This one is actually done with a gold foil star transparency I've had for a long time. And then I also created a cup file that includes 3 of these photo strips, or film strips. In the film strip, I added all of the different movies that we were watching throughout the season. We're big Halloween movie watchers. So, and typically, the family-friendly Halloween movie watchers. So I wanted to document all of those. I added in this transparency number 9. This is from a really old Week in the Life collection, I think from maybe 2019. And then I had 2 additional tags where my story for this layout lives. And then these just slip down in front of those film strips into this same pocket to give it a really fun layered textured feel. And that is volume 1. So I'm going to put this one to the side and then we'll bring over volume number 2. For volume number 2 and number 3, you will not see anything on the inside cover. I decided to just forego that and put my layouts in here and call that good. My title page here is a vellum page that came from the Cocoa Daisy collection from last year. Super cool. It's like this full moon with bats in front of it, and I just really like the creepy feel, the vibes it's giving off. I had cut out on my silhouette my title, which says "Something Wicked This Way Comes." I did that in white so it would really pop off of the vellum piece here. And then we jump into story number 10. Story number 10, the foundation of it is this craft pocket, which was one of the older December Daily collection pieces, maybe from 2020 is when these were released. I loved the idea of using a pocket and slipping in a witch's spell scroll to answer my next prompt, which was, would you rather be a witch, a vampire, or a ghost, and why? I, of course, chose to be a witch because I think that would just be the coolest thing ever. On the front, I've got some die cuts that represent witches and, witchcraft. Then you untie my number 10, which is one of those Tim Holtz charms once again. We untie that and then we can open up this scroll here and my story is inside. So this is my story. I printed this on some canvas paper. It does make it a little trickier to read. It's actually a lot easier to read in person compared to via photograph or likely in this video, but like I can read it super easily as I'm looking at it right now. So my title is I'd Rather Be a Witch, and then I wrote my journaling underneath. I did cut 2 pieces of the canvas paper because the opposite side of it is it's more like a plastic, and then stitched the 2 pieces together in order to make it feel like it's all one piece. I did also add this bit of trim to the back side as well. So when it closes, it has a really nice finish around the middle. So then I just take the number 10, I'm going to wrap the twine around, we'll tie it back in a bow, and then it stores inside of the pocket. This story alone adds a lot of bulk to my album, but it's one of those stories that I just really love. It's so unique. It's just really cool. And it's one that does not have a photo with it. It's just the story this time. Story number 11. Number 11 is about the books that I read throughout the month of October, which ended up only being 1 book. For this one, I used the stamps that I have in my stash to create a spooky bookshelf. Then, as every spooky bookshelf must do, if you pull up on the correct books, the shelf magically moves to the side and reveals what's behind. So here there are actually some books that are cut out, and it's been in here a while, so let's see if I can pop that out. Maybe. There we go. So there are books, there we go, that if you pull up on the books, there is actually a little Velcro dot back here that holds it close. So you can pull up on the books, pull the shelf open, and here's what it reveals. Behind it is the photo of the book I was reading with a cup of coffee, my journaling about wanting to read more books, and then some embellishments throughout the page. So I thought this was a fun way, and it just was squished in there from being closed in my album for a whole year. But normally it pops out a little bit more to make it easier to pull that aside. I just thought that was a fun little addition to add to that layout. Story number 12 is about booing our friends and family. If you don't know what booing is, it's essentially you get a goodie bag together, you drop it on your person's family, friends, whoever's doorstep, and you run away. You ghost, you disappear. So when your friend or family goes to their porch and sees they've got a little gift bag waiting for them filled with goodies for the season, they don't know who it's from. It's from some random ghost. Typically, the way that it works is once you've been ghosted, I think it originally started as a neighborhood thing. So people in the neighborhood would boo each other, and once you were booed, you were supposed to put in your window that you had been booed so that nobody booed you for a second time. And then once you are booed, you then must boo someone else. Our family just does it for fun, where we drive. So I'll drive to my in-laws' house, I'll drive to my parents' house, we'll drive to our friend's house and leave stuff on their porch. And they always know it's us, but it's still fun to do. They don't know when it's coming. For last year, I documented this by creating my own Halloween-themed mailbox. This was a cut file for an actual dimensional paper mailbox, and I just altered it so it could become a pocket in my album. The flag does move from the Brad here. And then inside the mailbox, I have 3 tiny letters. The inside of each letter contains a photo of the kids booing whoever it was, photos of whatever was inside of the goodie bags, which is great for referencing in future years. Like now I can look at this and see what kind of stuff we put in. And then I also have messages from the individuals when they found it. So that was either a text message, or I think it was generally a text message that I got from everyone that knew it was us. So they were just messaging us to tell us thank you. And then I had these itty bitty tiny postage stamps that I added onto the envelopes to make it look like, you know, they've been mailed, and those just stick down inside of the mailbox. So we've got the 3 little letters inside the mailbox. Such a cute little, I just love that one. It's so cute. Story number 13 is to tell a story of a ghost encounter if you've had one. My husband and I have both had what we think is some kind of spirit encounter. And so for this, I wanted to tell both of our stories. I created my own book here using a cut file from Silhouette, and I wanted this to function like an actual book with pages. So this piece opens up with a Velcro dot, and then you can flip through the pages to read Erin's ghost encounter story and my ghost encounter story. I paired these with just some random photos that we took using a Snapchat filter because I don't have actual photos from those moments. And then it just Velcros back together, and that's story number 13. I wanted it to look like a creepy book, almost like a spell book or something of that nature. Story number 14 is to document your favorite Halloween color combination. Mine is black and white, as you can see here. So I gathered up a whole bunch of my black and white Halloween decorations, clothes, accessories, all of it, snapped a picture of that, and then wrote about it over here on this card. The back side of this card is the title for my next one, which is my Halloween playlist. For this story, I wanted to create something that is very reminiscent of a CD that you would buy. So when you would get the CDs that came in like a paper case or a cardstock case, and then you opened them up and you have your CD and you have your information pamphlet that tells all the songs on that CD. So I downloaded 2 of my favorite Halloween songs by a group called Voice Play. This is their song art. So I have one on the front and I have one on the back. Inside of this, I have my actual fake CD that I made. It says, "This is Halloween." It's just meant to look like a fake CD. And then on the other side, I have my pamphlet that says the 8 songs that are on my Halloween CD. So I've got, Come Little Children / The Hanging Tree by Peter Hollins, Grim Grinning Ghosts by Voice Play, This is Halloween by Voice Play, Man with the Hex by the Atomic Fireballs, and more. A fun way to see what we were listening to last year, and I love documenting things like books, music, movies, to see how our taste in those things change over time. The next prompt here, number 16, is where is a place that you would never, ever, ever, ever stay overnight? I have 4 places that I would never, ever, ever, ever stay the night. And I found images online that represented all 4 of those places. And then these flip up and have a little journaling underneath about why I would never stay there. So I've got a haunted forest, or a dark forest. Yeah, heck no. An abandoned building. This one's going to be a haunted house for sure. And then this one is, is a haunted hotel that I wouldn't want to stay at a haunted hotel. Not one that was like really, really haunted, you know? Story 17 was documenting an event that we went to in the month of October. We are huge zoo fans, which I'm sure you know if you followed me for any amount of time. And if you haven't, well, welcome. We love the zoo. This is the Zoo Boo, which is an event that the Detroit Zoo here puts on every year, where you dress up in your Halloween costumes and you just come to the zoo. They have different events and activities that you can participate in, and you can go see the animals. So I have a picture of our family in front of the Zoo Boo like mural thing, or sculpture thing. I added my journaling on vellum so it would show up on the picture. And then I got this idea from, I'm losing her name. It might have been Holly DeVore. It might have been someone else. An Instagrammer, which, if you go to the process video for this, there's a link to her exact project. She did a whole bunch of these cute little circle pockets in one of her layouts, and I thought it would be perfect to add a Z and a B at the top with 2 O's underneath. So you've got ZOO for zoo and BOO for boo, Zoo Boo. And then to fill all of these little pockets with some ephemera, like some tiny little die cut bits, because that's just fun. And then on the backs of these, I have more tiny little photos. When we did the Zoo Boo, we went with some friends and their kids. And so it gives me a chance to put in some photos with everyone who went. So in the future, we can remember that it was a group thing. Story number 18 was documenting our Halloween decor. We had just moved into our new house last year, so I wasn't going all out with my decorations. I did purchase some new things for my dining table, and I decorated that and have a full picture of it there. A separate picture of it here. I love this little pumpkin here. And then in the 2x2, I've got another shaker pocket, because shaker pockets, you know, for life. Added this die cut in the middle, and I've got 4 additional photos of just some little nooks and crannies that I was able to decorate last year. I'm looking forward to this year going more all out than we were able to last. Story number 19 is the prompt was, do you believe in magic, or is magic real? Do you think magic is real? So I journaled about how, yes, I do think magic is real. That my version of magic is not like, you know, I don't know. It's not like magic wands and potions and spells. Like, that's not necessarily what I mean by magic, but what do I mean? And yes, I think it exists. I paired this with some really old photos. These are from a couple years back, where I went to the Wizarding World in Universal Studios with my husband, his twin brother, and my sister-in-law. I just so happened to have another die cut that was like the perfect size and shape to go on the back side of this one, like total serendipity, and use that to decorate the middle. And then my last story for volume number 2 is, are you a basic witch? And yes, in fact, I am. Quite basic, a very basic witch. So for this one, I printed this really beautiful witch design, which was from Silhouette Studio. Printed that on vellum. I added my own little cut file down here that says basic witch and my number. This is adhered onto the photo using washi tape. And then the vellum unclips off of my rings here, opens up, and then I have a picture of me with all of the pumpkin things. And of course, Jack Skellington. So all the things that just make me basic. and talked about the first time somebody called me basic and being offended, and how now that's kind of just a badge of honor. So this is volume number 2. I have one more to share with you. So I'm going to put this to the side, grab volume 3, and then we'll finish out our flip through. Volume number 3 also does not have anything on the inside cover, and I'm okay with that. For my intro page, I cut out this amazing spider web die cut. This is from Citrus Twist, I believe. And they sell them. They sell a lot of these. You'll see at least one more in here, if not more than that, that fit inside of these albums. So I cut this out using my silhouette, and then used the October wood veneer piece from Colorcast Design to create my title for the page. Behind this is a photo of Jonah in this adorable little dragon costume. He was not a dragon for Halloween last year. He was actually a pumpkin, but his pumpkin costume did not arrive in time for us to do some of our events. So we ended up getting him a second costume, and it's so cute. It's just so cute. Even to this day, he still wears it every once in a while, just randomly. So that's just my intro. For story number 21, the prompt was to interview a vampire. Now you could take this prompt a couple different ways. I originally was going to interview a vampire and just have that be a creative writing exercise. But then I thought, why not interview Jonah and ask him questions like I was interviewing a vampire and just document his answers. So that's what I did. We went outside and we have this cute little Dracula cape that was actually my husband's when he was a little boy. So we took some pictures outside in the Dracula cape. This is a die cut that just so happened to fit perfectly on his head. And then I've got the number 21 with a tiny bat die cut behind it as my number designator. Some of the questions that I asked were things like, when do you sleep? Can you fly? Do you look like a human or a bat when you fly? Do you like cats? What do you eat? What is your favorite show to watch? What kind of house do you live in? So those types of things. And then whatever he answered, I wrote down. For story number 22, it's just this tiny little insert here that documents the movie that scared me the most when I was a kid. For me, it was this movie called Tremors, which I think was supposed to be like a comedy type of horror movie. And when you are, I don't even know how old I was, way too young. When you were as old as I was, it was not comedy. It was just horror. So I talked about that and how my dad introduced me to scary movies way too young. And it's probably part of the reason why I don't really like them to this day. So this is just done with an Ali Edwards TV. I think I did this digitally, maybe. I'm pretty sure I used the digitals for this. So I took the TV from the Watch Story Kit, the digital Watch Story Kit, and cut this out on my silhouette. The next story here, number 23, is my Halloween Advent Calendar, which I had purchased a sticker Advent Calendar from Pipsticks. When you open it up on the inside, there is a picture of all the stickers that came in that kit. I used some of them to create this little scene here on my page, talked about the Advent calendar itself, and then this flip out portion, or this top portion, is actually repurposed from the Advent calendar itself. So I used part of the scraps, once again, to create part of my page, making it unique and just really customized to me and my stories. Number 24 is a play on the prompt, "Are you afraid of the dark?" When I originally wrote this prompt, I was thinking of telling the story about being afraid of the dark, how when I was a kid, I was very afraid of the dark. And as I've gotten older, I'm not as much, but still there's that air of mystery and spookiness to darkness. But then I had been watching the newer seasons of Are You Afraid of the Dark on, I want to say they're on Prime, Amazon Prime. I was watching those and thought, a different way I could approach this is to pretend like our family is applying or trying out, auditioning, to be included in the Midnight Society, which is the group of kids in Are You Afraid of the Dark? In the Midnight Society, to audition to be in, you have to write a really compelling and scary ghost story. If your story is good enough, then you are invited to be part of the club. If your story is not good enough, you are not invited to be part of the club and you never get the chance to try again. So I took this idea and found some Halloween Mad Libs and had all of us fill one out. So there's one for me, there's one for Jonah, and there's one for Isabella. So we all wrote our own ghost story here to apply to be part of the Midnight Society. And then we had gone outside and taken some pictures just running around in sheets, and it was kind of fun. And I added my journaling on the back side of this little card to just talk about the Midnight Society, and that was kind of the inspiration behind this story. Story number 25 is about the witching hour and what I was doing at the witching hour. It's funny, when I was going back to look at these again, I was thinking, because it's a coffee cup, that I probably documented the morning, but in fact I did actually document the real witching hour, the real night, because we had just moved. I was doing October daily. I was prepping for December daily. I was not sleeping. So I was drinking a lot of coffee and staying up way too late. And that is the story I told. For this one, I used a cup die cut or a cut file to make my own cups here. I made 2 of them that are added back to back here with some foam in between, so I can have some shaker bits in between the layers of the cup. It's so cool. And then my journaling is here on the back of the cup, and this is paired with a photo that I took in the wee hours of the morning that just had that feel of the witching hour. Story number 26 is about a tradition, a cookie making tradition with the kids and I. I used some inspiration from a layout that Laura Wanzik created ages ago, where she had a picture of her daughter, and then she did this, where she's got the triangle of pattern paper with a triangle of journaling and just layered it in there for a really graphic feel. I wanted to use that here, so I've got pattern papers, I've got my text, I added little bits and bobs on top of the triangles, and then this actually opens up to reveal another full page photo of my son that I did the same treatment for, and then I've got a picture of our finished cookies and 2 pictures of the kids making the cookies or, eating the frosting. So I couldn't decide which picture I wanted to do for this layout, so I just did them both and made that work. Story number 27 is about the fun Halloween themed foods that we made throughout the month. I've got a collage of them over on the right side, my title, Eat, Drink, and Be Scary, and then some journaling down below about why we do that and how it's just really fun to make Halloween food. Story 28 documents my daughter Isabella's first grade Halloween parade, and it was actually their whole school that did this parade. Parents could go. It was all outside because it was still heavy COVID time. So we were outside, the kids walked by, paraded back, and then their day was over, so then we could pick them up and take them home. At the time, we ran into our old neighbor's son and Izzy's best friend, so I had them pose together for a couple of different pictures, and then I created this layered pocket on the left side. This is a cut file from Paige Evans. It was part of her, I think, like 13 or 31 die cuts or 31 cut files for October, something like that. It might have only been 13 or maybe 20. I don't remember how many came in it, but it was quite a few. And that was where that came from. Then inside the pockets, I have just this cute little die cut, but then I've got some journaling cards backed with more photos. So that's one of Izzy when they were actually doing the parade. This one here is the 2, Izzy and Ryan, and then this is a school picture that the teacher sent me, which I thought would be fun to include in here. And then at the very top, I have this embellished tag where I've added my journaling, another little die cut that I just had randomly to use, and the legs of the spider clip kind of on top of the pocket to help it from going too far down, which I thought was kind of fun. Story number 29 is the only story in here that's very fall. I feel like everything else is Halloween. This one, I wanted to document a day where we went to the apple orchard. this is my story for 29 or story 29, but we actually went on the 17th of October. And that's what I mean when I say I don't really care if the days line up with the numbers that it is. It doesn't bother me. If I really want to remember the date, I will make sure to stamp it somewhere on my layout. This was mostly created digitally. I have a font that I downloaded. I think it's called Donut Font from Silhouette. I used that to create the title here with my journaling at the bottom. Anchored this with the washi on the sides, and then had these cute little leaf die cuts cascading down the side of my title. And then on the right side, not right, left, on the left side, I made a collage of photos from our shenanigans at the apple orchard. Story number 30 documents a party that my younger sister threw. Her dog turned 15 last year. It was his last birthday. He has since passed away, but it was a really big deal for him to turn 15. So she threw a Halloween party at her house on the 30th that we went to. She had her whole house decorated for Halloween. Every room had a different theme. It was very cool. Izzy ended up cuddling with the skeleton because that's just, my kids are not afraid of this stuff and they're just all over it. So I have a picture of Izzy cuddling the skeleton. That became the main picture. And then I had this really cool transparency from Tim Holtz that was also a skeleton. So that seemed fitting. I added this just by stitching it at the top onto my page. And then when you flip it up, I've got the journaling from the party, the event underneath that. Story number 31, obviously, is Halloween. Now, Halloween, we do a lot of things. We went to our friend's house during the day. They always do egg rolls on Halloween. It's a tradition. So we went over for egg rolls. Then we did our neighborhood trick-or-treating. Then we did our evening trick-or-treating and had everybody come over. And it's just a lot. A lot goes on Halloween. So I knew that I could not contain that to just one layout. So I've got on the left side here is page 1 of Halloween of day 31. I have a picture of the kids on our front porch and then journaled about just our general Halloween plans, what we were doing. This is another of the Citrus Twist die cuts. I keep saying die cuts, it's a cut file is what I mean, that fits into these albums perfectly. I added the die cut or the cut file, the cut piece, onto a piece of clear transparency and then stitched around the entire thing in orange to give it more texture and also to make it a lot more stable inside of my album. Then I have a family picture where we are all dressed up in costume, ready to go. And finally, after years and years of hoarding it, was able to use my Happy Halloween banner. Page 2 for Halloween is where you will see that second Heidi Swap tag with the little pocket. I actually used it as a template to make another one myself. And then inside of these, I have tags with journaling for different parts of the day, and specifically journaling that pertains to the photos on the right side here. I created this collage of photos because I had a ton and I had a hard time picking which ones I was going to use. The one that I chose to do large was mostly because it had the space at the bottom to add the tags to. And this is one of my kids like running off down the street to go trick-or-treating. And then on the right side, I've got a bunch of pictures with our friends and family and Blippi, who stopped by our house and totally made Jonah's day. Blippi at the time was his favorite. He used to call him his best friend. And so when he saw him on Halloween, he lost it. The next Halloween layout here is one that I wanted to document as a special tribute to our costumes this year. Aside from Jonah, who insisted on being a pumpkin, and also, spoiler alert, he's already asked me if he can be a pumpkin this year too. It will be his 3rd year being a pumpkin. He really wants to, and I have since suggested maybe being Luigi, because Luigi and Mario are his favorite characters of all time right now. So, and he bought that. So we might be able to escape a year as a pumpkin, but he was a pumpkin. The rest of us were Pokemon characters. Izzy wanted to be a Pokemon trainer, and Erin and I were her Pokemon. So we were evolutions of Eevee. They're like these onesies for adults. They're amazing. it's like the most amazing adult costume to just wear a big warm onesie around. And we ended up doing a photo shoot. My sister-in-law did it for us, where we allowed Izzy to catch us. We have a whole bunch of these plastic Pokeballs, and we let her just kind of throw them at us to catch us, and it hurt a lot, but also it was a really fun time, and we have some really cool pictures. So I've got a picture of the costume that Izzy wore and some of our Pokemon stuff that's just around the house. Then I created a interactive Pokemon ball pocket. This opens up here. So the ball opens as though we're going to catch something, right? And then out of the pocket comes the journaling, which I just used a free download for this, added my journaling underneath. And then I have pictures of her throwing her ball at us and like laughing over it and us cowering in fear. It's just kind of funny. It's funny to go back and see that. So that is the journaling. This is one of my favorites just because, again, it's like it makes this album really unique because I've created something that's super specific to what we did for Halloween last year. So that is my Pokeball, which I backed on both sides so that it looked like a Pokeball no matter which way it went. This was paired with a full page photo of Izzy actually hitting me. I also really loved the motion of her arm and chose to add die cuts and these chipboard pieces around it, especially the arrow pointing. I think that was a really good add there. And then I am finishing the volume 3 and my October daily album with a picture of Izzy and Jonah and our two friends, neighbor friends from our old house, who came over to go trick-or-treating with us. I have a picture of all of them on the front doorstep together with just some "This is October" and Halloween, and called that a day. All right, friends, that is October Daily 2021. It's really hard to go back and look at all of these pages and not want to get started right away, or it also makes me want to document in this size again, which my plan currently is not to document in this size. I have a really different, unique plan for what I'm going to do this year. I mean, it's not super unique. Other people have done it before, but it'll be the first time I've done it, and I'm excited for that, which that will be coming soon. More information coming soon. But it is hard to go back through these and be like, oh gosh, now I really just want to go and be totally extra again this year. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope that you enjoyed seeing these 3 albums well, you didn't see them come together today, but I hope you enjoyed seeing how they all look when they are all together. There are process videos for every single page in this album in my October Daily 2021 playlist. And as I said, there's also a blog post on my website for every page as well that includes links and more information and close-up photos and all that goodness. So you can check that out if you want to see more. I will be back. I'm going to do one more flip through of my Dia de los Muertos album. So you'll see that next. And then we're going to move on to 2022 plans and prep, and I'll show you what I've got in the works. I'm very excited to dive into the new year of documenting. If you enjoyed this video, I would love a thumbs up down below, and let me know in the comments section if you are planning to do an October Daily, and if you are, what are you documenting in this year? If you haven't subscribed already, I hope that you will consider subscribing. I've got a ton of content coming your way in the next couple of months that are October and December related. So subscribe to stay in the know about all of that. Until next time, friends, I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye, friends.